Okay, you state lah, 1, 2, 3, action. Good morning, everyone. So we come back again with the BIMAGE Cafe. So now it's our third episode. So here we have Mr. Rangga, or we call it Mas Rangga. Okay, so Mas Rangga is very expert in infrastructure. He's from Autodesk. So for today's topics, we would like to more discussing about the infrastructure on how this BIM or building information modeling can help us in infrastructure project. Okay, so Mas Rangga, maybe Mas Rangga can introduce yourself.
Okay, hello everyone, especially from BIMAGE. Thank you for inviting me here. Okay, my name is Rangga Taruna Atmaja. I'm actually sitting in Jakarta, based in Jakarta. So I got invited by Malaysia team because I also cover ASEAN. So I'm not only supporting Indonesia because I'm sitting there, but I also support Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, and also Philippines. So those 5 countries, I actually fly around for different countries. Depends on the needs as well, because I'm my expertise is also in infrastructures. So if there's a query for infrastructures, then I can support the countries that I'm supporting at.
I see.
My background, because my background is also in civil engineering, right? So yeah, I can support our fellow Autodesk.
I see. Yeah. So basically, me and Rangga have a similarity. So both of us came from civil engineering.
Yes.
And also we have in the same company, right?
Yes.
Previously, right? Long time ago.
Have a history, back
Have a
then.
history. But to skip lah, okay?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not important. Okay. So basically, maybe we just go through directly with the session. Okay.
Alright.
So okay. So the first one. Maybe we just make this one like very chill lah, just like talk,
Okay,
like
alright.
simple talk only lah.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay, so Rangga, currently right, the current impact for BIM in infrastructure, right? So how impactful actually if we implement this BIM for infrastructure, especially in the country that you currently manage, like Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore. So how the impact of this BIM actually?
Yeah. Yes, BIM is. If we talk not only for BIM, if we talk about the digital transformation as a whole, digital is actually have a very huge impact in ASEAN, especially in my countries or Singapore, Malaysia, and others in ASEAN. It's because let me talk about my experience back then. If we have the drawings only for any handmade, back then, way back then, maybe in my father's age or something.
I think during our what's called like university also, they still using like the drawings manually, right?
Yeah,
Some of the subjects required to do the manual.
Yeah. I think professionally we already have an AutoCAD,
Correct.
in 2D, but the idea for that, the data doesn't have anything in there, only layers. Especially if we talk about the handwriting, it's very painful for the storage, right?
Yeah, correct.
If you want to go back then, the as-built drawing is very painful.
You need to trace one by one back again all the drawings.
That's why digital is very painful, especially nowadays. There's an AI there right now. We need the data, right? And we also have the terminology for digital, garbage in, garbage out, right? If we want to see the best output, we need to have the best input as well, and the best input comes from BIM. That's my thought and what I saw in every country in ASEAN as well. So BIM is very important.
I see. So means that, for example, in some country, maybe the implementation maybe not that really advanced, and then some of the countries still trying to, like progressing all of those kind of things. So do you think currently the country in ASEAN actually, especially in ASEAN, is it on the correct path or correct track to implement this BIM actually in infrastructure? Because what we know basically more in the building, right? When we talk about BIM, more people more proficient in buildings itself, but how in infrastructure? What do you think about this? Is it our progress, or in ASEAN country progress actually this one is on the correct way or on the positive way?
Yeah, there's some misunderstanding about BIM, right? So many people who just started to learn about BIM is just saying that BIM is only like a magic button, right? One button and everything can be solved, right? And
They said BIM salah BIM, right?
yeah,
Then
yes,
suddenly
that's the good terminology as well. Right? Just one button and it's BIM, and BIM is equal to 3D as well. So that's a lot of misunderstanding. So nowadays, many people, especially the government side, has already huge understanding about BIM. What I can see, right? So they started to see the informations, the important and the benefit of the BIM. I saw some good response from the government, especially from what we communicate with governments. Yeah, Autodesk and especially BIMAGE can support the government side, but there's some. Let me talk about Indonesia first. Yeah, Indonesia from BIM is start from contractors, so it's pretty much different, yeah, with other country. Very unique. They start from contractors because I'm not sure, yeah, if they have the budget for that, because they have the budget for that, and they start to sell quote unquote the BIM capabilities to the clients. So that's for the starters of the BIMs in Indonesia. So mainly the advocator is comes from contractors. But I saw different countries in ASEAN aside from Indonesia is comes from consultants and designers. Is pretty much different, yeah. What I say, very very unique. Consultants have a very huge capabilities as well in BIM. Yeah, that's a good track.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I agree with you also, because some of the, because contractor has more budget.
Correct.
So they have like a lot of research and development for BIM itself. Meanwhile, the consultant, right? Mostly the consultant, they have, the profit is more smaller than the contractor. So usually for buying not buying lah. For example, for implement this BIM also, they need to like thinking twice on how they spend this money for this one, because previously, like the client itself or the government itself also previously like not really aware, right, regarding this BIM. So they not included this one also. So yeah, I think I quite agree also, because maybe if I share also in Malaysia, some of the contractors are more advanced than the consultant itself. But by the time they catch up, so now all of the consultant in Malaysia also really catch up with the contractor capabilities. So yeah, previously also in Malaysia, some of the contractor is more advanced. So the BIM itself, they try to give the benefits to the client, but it came from the contractor. Yeah, so it's pretty similar lah.
Pretty similar, yes. It's quite interesting, yeah, because BIM, the consultants or the planning phase, if you talk about the project life cycles, it start from the planning and then the designing. So when we do the BIM, start from the beginning phase, which is the planning or the designing the phase, they will get the more benefit from BIMs, right? Because they have more power and smaller costs, smaller impact if they do like optimizations.
Correct.
And the value engineering process, right? If they do the value engineering process, especially with BIM, then we get more benefit in terms of project value.
Agree. Yeah.
Agree.
Correct. Yeah. So it's also referring to the second question actually, but basically this one is more to the solution itself. So now we understand what is the progress, or what is the progressing of what BIM infrastructure in the ASEAN countries. So for example, if like consultant or contractor maybe, or the client who watching this video, if they want to start implement this BIM, right? So is there any solution from Autodesk, like the complete solution including the workflow on how this BIM infrastructure can be done?
Yeah, okay. So, let me remind again. I mentioned earlier about the project life cycles. So, if the people from the consultants and the contractors just start focus in their own phase first. Is it the planning and designing or in constructions? So, and in terms of Autodesk solutions, we have the solutions based on those 5 life cycles, right? Planning, design, constructions, build, and also the operations and maintenance, right? So find the correct peoples to do the operations, implementations, do the basic first layer, start from one step at a time lah. Don't rush, right? Do your homework, start learning the software, and Autodesk has a lot of software from A to Z, a lot of workflow as well. Depends on the types of the projects. InfraWorks, Civil 3D from the if we talk about the infrastructures, right? InfraWorks, Civil 3D, Revit for the structures, and also the tandems. We have the tandems. In case anybody doesn't familiar with tandems, for operations and maintenance, tandems can also good for the FN in the Autodesk solutions.
I see. Yeah, because I just want to mention also what you mentioned just now. Because usually all of this consultant, right, or contractor also, they afraid on how to start this BIM because they see this one is too complex, the model. But actually on how to model this one is quite simple. So they're already afraid at the beginning. Oh, how come I can model this kind of complex things? Because they haven't started yet.
Yes.
So by this using this Autodesk solution, it's like a step-by-step solution, right? To creating start from the design phase, construction phase, and then planning. Just now, like the 5 phases that one. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a normal reaction from the consultant if they feel like, oh, I'm afraid to see all of this model. But actually when they start to create, right, this one is actually a simple workflow. You just follow, then actually it can be done.
Like I said, don't rush to do and don't rush to learn the things in BIM, right? Because each has their own challenge and each has their own solution as well. So start from the basic. It's quite the learning curve is quite tough at the beginning, I think, but when you do the process, it's getting easier and easier, right? So just start learning.
Agree. Yeah. So I think the next question also will be refer to the previous question lah. So when they want to do the implementation, right? So we need to stick this kind of implementation with kind of standard. So for example, if I do a project in Singapore, maybe the standard will be different in Malaysia and different in Indonesia. But we know that currently for the global standard, usually people will be referred to the ISO and SC50.
Correct.
Or maybe before ISO, usually they refer to BS, British Standard 1192. So based on your experience, Mas Rangga, so is there when you handling all of these multiple countries, right? So what is the difference? Is there any different standards or any kind of significant difference yet between all of these standards?
If the words is significant? Not really have very big difference here. We have same ISO, which is the ISO 19650. If you want to communicate based on the data, it's the same. Every country is the same because it's global ISO, right? Internationals. But in terms of design requirement, then yes, it's quite a difference for each countries in ASEAN. But I think mainly the majority of the design requirement is come from adopt from US. I saw some requirements adopt from the US. Let's say ASTO. Many countries. I think almost 5 countries adopting ASTO, and they adopt and adjust lah. Because we are in the not have 4 season, right? We only have 2 season, so that's why we need to adjust with the requirement as well. That's the challenge, right? We have our own specifications, requirements, but the source is the same. I think we can start from there. So start from the commonality, then we can adjust for each country. Okay, it's not a big issue. I think we just need to see which one is which. Indonesia is using their own requirements suitable for these countries. Same with Malaysia, Singapore, and Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, and so on. Yeah, it's not really big issue. I think we just need to adjust. That's
Correct. Yeah. Because even in the ISO, right? This one, as I know lah, because they also mentioned in 16050 that some of the workflow can be adjusted lah. Because
Yes.
this one also need to be what is called follow the municipality standard. So that's why I agree with Rangga also, because if let's say some of the country stick with the some of the standard, right?
Yeah.
So it will become a trouble. Because what? Because if let's say we stick with something that we're not familiar, so it will become like quite hard for us to implement directly, right? Agree. So but based on your experience also, when you implementing this standard, is there any, for example, from the contractor side or consultant side, got any problem or maybe have any issues when they try to implement this kind of standard?
Yeah, I saw them struggling. Yeah, if I can say struggling at the beginning. Yeah, because the adjustment process, the iterations process is quite tough, right? Quite tough because Autodesk created there, but they don't know how to customize it. That's the thing. So I think we are lucky to have BIMAGE as our partners as well. So you also have the capabilities to do supporting the customers to customize and adjust the process as well, right? Not only the tools, the software, also the process. That's very, very important, and I appreciate BIMAGE to support us as well, especially if you support the customers, right? Perhaps just help them, especially they also have their own standards, right? Based on the requirement from the government, and also every organizations in the countries have their own organization standards. So just one process is took some time for that, and I saw they need support from the partners. In this case, BIMAGE.
Yeah. I also agree with that kind of statement because, like what you mentioned just now, we have we use standard from the government, and then we have standard from the client itself, for example, and then we have the standard from ISO, and then three of those things sometimes it's contradictory, right?
Yeah.
So so that's why many people basically previously I talk especially in Malaysia during that time because we have a lot of standards previously, so because we want to search which one is the best way. So for example, if let's say we talk, because previously it's BS 1192, so BS, if let's say you want to got the certificate BS, then you need to follow 100% the standard, right? But when you want to combine it with the standard from the government, like in Malaysia we have the MS Malaysia standard, and then they not allow. So that's why during that time many consultant and contractors also struggle when they want to implement this kind of standard. But now good things that the ISO they're able to adjust, right? So they can like more flexible to adjust what kind of standard they want. So this one is good. It's a relief for all the consultant and contractor, because for example, like LOD. LOD people still mention level of development. Some people level of detail. Some people got level of information, level of geometry, everything lah. So those kind of things also not determined inside the ISO. So even I'm not sure. Maybe in Indonesia, do you have any standard regarding this LOD, something like that, basically? Because here, just want to share. Basically, we follow the BIM forum. So they have LOD 100, 200, 300, 250, 400 until 500. But the definition itself is still very, very different. So people, for example, people say, LOD 300 is detail, and then LOD 250 is more than detail. But basically, LOD 250 used for coordination. And then 400, some of people still mention, 400 is more detailed than 250. But actually, 400 is fabrication. So those kind of different idea or arguments still happens in here. So how about, or maybe what is your thing about this actually?
It's a common issue. Many people also stating their own definitions of LOD. Same
correct.
with governments.
Yeah.
I think also almost everywhere in ASEAN, across
Yeah.
ASEAN, many people focus more in LOD rather than the information itself. So what we need to advocate for the customers and especially government to standardize what is the terminology, what is the level of the needed requirement for each projects. I think what we need to advocate is don't focus more in terms of LOD, just focus more in the informations, right? Because that's the benefit of the BIM itself, right? The I in
Correct.
the BIM
Yeah, the
informations.
information. Yeah.
We, in my opinion, we need to focus more informations in terms of everything in the modeling itself.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe last question. Because I think we're already clear, right, on what is the BIM infrastructure and also what is the challenges, right, basically that happens in this BIM infrastructure, especially in this ASEAN country. So maybe Mas Rangga, if you would like to share maybe your experience directly inside the project, what kind of the challenges or obstacles that you currently, I mean that occurs or maybe happens to you. Maybe you can share funny
Yeah,
things or
it's-
anything.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, yeah, because infrastructure's characteristic is related to the solutions and the shape, the geometry of the infrastructure project.
Correct.
If we compare it to the buildings is much more common, if I can say, not to undermine the buildings
Correct.
personally, but the infrastructures have many shape, different shapes and unique. It's basically unique. So many people who do the infrastructure projects asking how to create this shape. So many people struggling with that. And if what I see is the skill set of the people is still lacking. We need to do some homeworks, especially from Autodesk as well, to perhaps creating like a guidance, tutorials, videos, or maybe documentations on the specific requirements of the shapes for infrastructures in terms of modeling and informations given by the software itself. So because right now we still struggling with the modeling. Just forget about the information for now. But many projects in infrastructure still struggling in the geometry, the modelings. And second is the interoperability. Interoperability is also important. So the biggest second question is in terms of interoperability. There's also a challenge for that, right? Because not many people knows how to communicate between each software. They only knows one specific software platform, such as Civil 3D. They only know Civil 3D. They haven't touched the InfraWorks. They haven't touched Revit and so on. So that's the second question. The third question is in terms of the operations as well. There's also a lot of questions, and after the contractor do the modelings, the designing in BIM, then what to do with the models? There's also a question for that. Yeah, that's the challenge. We need to do the homework about these three big questions from the infra side.
Okay. Yeah. This one really a big issue, right? Because it actually happens in very long time, but until now it haven't solved yet, right?
Yes.
So I think the experience that you share is actually reflect to all countries in the world also, because not only in ASEAN, because the what you mentioned earlier also, like the model itself, right? Because some of the people might be not familiar with this kind of BIM itself, and then they still prefer to using the conventional method. So it's not like they try to reject, but they try on the safe zone, which is when they want to move it, and then when they don't know where to start actually. So that's why I think this kind of solution that you already mentioned, right? Or we can start from the design phase, planning phase, and then construction until the operation maintenance. I think that kind of awareness need to be given to this kind of people also, I think.
Yeah.
It's correct.
That's what we need to do.
Yeah, that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
It's our agenda to change this world.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I think that's all for now. Okay, so thank you, Mr. Rangga, for
You're very welcome.
to having this kind of podcast. Okay, so so everyone, thank you so much for your attention. For your for watching us regarding this BIM for infrastructure for our third episode of this BIMAGE Cafe. Okay, so see you on the next episode. Okay, bye bye.